it's Jasmine, and today we're making Chinese barbecue pork. This Chinese barbecue pork is super easy to make, but tastes really good. It is sort of sweet and also sort of salty. So let's get started. For the ingredients you will need 600 grams of boneless pork butt, 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of white sugar, 2 tablespoons of cooking wine, 2 tablespoons of oyster flavored sauce, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, half a teaspoon of pepper, 1 clove of garlic chopped, 1 piece of ginger chopped, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, and 2 tablespoons of honey. Today we're going to be using some boneless pork butt. This is a type of meat that has a combination of fat and lean pork. It is very important that you do not only use lean pork for this barbecue pork because it would be really tough and hard and it won't taste as good as using boneless pork butt. And you want to slice the pork into about 1 inch thickness because if it is really thick then it would take longer to bake. First we're going to take a fork and poke a bunch of holes inside of the pork. This way when we marinate it, the flavors are actually going to go inside of the pork. Now prepare a bowl and a spoon and we're going to make the sauce to marinate it. So to the bowl I'm going to add in the salt, the pepper, sugar, oyster sauce, cooking wine, sesame oil, and ground cinnamon, the ginger, and garlic. And then just mix that. Prepare a gallon-sized Ziploc bag and we're going to add in the pork. We're going to be marinating this pork inside of the bag to make it more even. Now we're going to stand the bag up and pour in the sauce that we just made. Now we're going to close up the bag. I'm going to get rid of most of the air. Make sure it's tightly sealed, you don't want it to leak. And then we're going to massage the pork for all the flavors to go in. Take care not to actually break the bag. Once I've done massaging it, I have laid the pork flat. Now we're going to place it into the fridge for it to marinate for at least 4 hours for all the flavors to go into the pork. And you can flip it halfway through for both sides to marinate evenly. And I'm doing it for 4 hours, but you could do it for overnight if you'd like to. While the pork is marinating, we're going to make the sauce. So I have equal portions of ketchup and honey, and we're using ketchup to give the pork a nice and red color. The traditional way of doing this is using something called red yeast rice, but I don't really use that since it's really difficult to find in supermarkets, so we're just using ketchup to make it simpler. But if you don't like ketchup or you don't have ketchup, you could just leave this out and just use honey. Once that's mixed through, I'm going to set it aside and prepare the baking tray. I have a tray here and a little rack, and it is very important that you line whatever tray you're using with aluminum foil because the pork has a lot of sauce in it. It is going to drip down, and we're also going to be adding honey and ketchup on top, which is also going to drip onto the tray, and it is going to be extremely hard to clean. So I'm just going to line this tray with a good amount of aluminum foil. You could also use parchment paper if you'd like to. And it is also very important that you have a little rack to go into the tray. And this is going to help the sauce drip off the pork. This way the burnt sauces would not be on the pork, and it's going to make the pork look a lot prettier. My pork has been marinating for 4 hours. It is now ready. So preheat your oven to 400°F, and we're going to get the pork onto the tray. Try to get as much of the garlic and the ginger off of the pork. Now we're going to brush the sauce that we made onto the pork. You do not want to pour all of it on because we're going to be brushing it on a couple of times. Also brush it on the other side. Now we're going to place this into the oven at 400°F for about 15 minutes. The pork has been baking for 15 minutes. I've taken it out, and now I'm going to brush on a second layer of sauce. Try to get as much sauce as you can onto every spot. This is really going to give the pork a lot of flavor. Now we're going to place this back into the oven and bake it for another 15 minutes. The pork has been baking for 30 minutes, so now we're going to check if it is done. The pork has been baking in the oven at 400°F for 30 minutes. I tested it by using a grilling thermometer. It is now cooked. You can see there's lots of burnt sauce on the bottom, which is why you really need to use the aluminum foil to protect the tray. Now if you cut the pork a lot thinner, it is going to take a lot less time to cook, so just adjust the temperature according to your pork size. While I was cooking the pork, I steamed some rice and boiled some vegetables, and this is going to go perfectly with the pork. So now to cut, I'm using a fork just so that I don't burn myself. And we're going to cut diagonally. Make sure to get rid of any of the burnt parts. You could also brush on a little bit more of the sauce after it is cooked and sliced, but do not use the one from before because there might be raw meat inside of it. So just make a new batch. That's how you make Chinese barbecue pork. This is already smelling really good. If you want to make it shinier, you could brush on a layer of oil after it is baked. Serve this warm or cold. Either way, it tastes really good and it goes perfectly well with pretty much anything. I prefer rice, of course, but you could also eat it with noodles. And in the next video, I will be showing you how to make a Chinese barbecue pork pizza, so make sure to stay tuned for that. So, I hope you could try this out. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye!